Hi friends, this is Susan Smith with Stamp Creatively, and I have been working with the Simply Succulents and the succulent dies. They're called potted succulent dies. Fantastic. So I wanted to show you what I've done. I don't know if you're like me. Sometimes when I get a stamp set, I think, oh, this is going to be fantastic, and then it's kind of hard to work with. This one has been really easy to create with, and I want to show you how I made this card. So what I did was I decided I was going to do it almost monochromatic as far as cardstock goes. So everything I did on the smoky slate cardstock, so I stamped directly on the smoky slate, and I used a memento pad because I didn't want to blend my watercolor pencils very much. So I just wanted to kind of color with my watercolor pencils. So I want to show you what I did, what colors I used, and how I created this card. Okay, so what I did was I started off, the first thing I did was, again, I stamped on the smoky slate. And if I had done it, the first time I did it like this. So I stamped it on my smoky slate cardstock, and then I did a mask like we've done forever. And so I laid my mask down here, and then I dropped my pot. But it'll be okay because I was cutting it out. So I stamped my pot right on there. Okay, and so that's how I got the look on this card. So what I did differently on my next one that I'm going to show you was, instead I used, because I didn't think, I originally wasn't going to cut it out, but then when I decided to cut it out, I think it's easier if I take a quarter sheet of cardstock and stamp the succulents, the pot, and the words, and then I cut them out so that I could just layer them on here. And that'll be easier for me to do than fussy cutting it out after I was all done because I changed my mind. But what I wanted to show you that I did also that was a little bit different was I took my quarter sheet of cardstock and ran it through. This die is fantastic. It's nice and big, and it does a whole background piece. So to get it to stick to my smoky slate, I put the tear and tape down the edge. So I took my tear and tape, let me scooch that up a little bit. I took my tear and tape and put it down here on both sides. And then just ran it through the die so that I can then pull this off. So I can pull those edges off and stick it directly to my card front. So it's just a way to do it that's a little bit different. And again, it's all monochromatic, so I use the same color for everything. I'm going to show you a little bit how I colored my succulents. I used lots of colors. On the pot, I used an early espresso and a pumpkin pie because I wanted to look kind of terracotta-like. So that was how I did the pot. On the succulents, I used a lot more colors. I have a lot of succulents in my home, and they have some blues and pinks to them, so they have some different colors. So you don't just have to stay with just the greens. So what I did, I'll show you these little guys. I took pink and went over them first. So this is the Flirty Flamingo. And I went over my succulents. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see this just a little bit closer. So I took my Flirty Flamingo and I went over these little succulents and added some pink. And then I went over and added some Granny Apple. And you can change the intensity of the color by how hard you press on the color. Our watercolor pencils are so nice. They just do a really good job of coloring. So again, I just went over the subtles, the succulents with the Flirty Flamingo and then the Granny Apple. And then I wanted just a little bit darker in some of the corners. So I used the, this is the Old Olive. We have 2 different sets of watercolor pencils, and I use them both. And then because I wanted to blend the colors and I didn't necessarily want to use my blender pen, I went over it with the white. And it softens the colors and blends them a little bit. So you can color right over the colors with the white. And then I did my bigger succulents, kind of like the same way, just layered my colors. On these out here, I added some Coastal Cabana. And I did it the same way. Like I went over it first and added a little bit of Coastal Cabana to it because, again, some of them have a little blue. And then I did the Granny Apple. And I went over it with the olive. And then I went back in. Oh, here it is. This one's the garden. And it just layers the colors and blends them all together. It's so nice. And then again, I used the white just to kind of tone it down and give it a little bit of blend. So here's how it looks all done. Of course, I added one of those adorable little ladybugs because we do love those. Are those not the cutest? So I added a little ladybug and then the sentiment you've been on my mind. After I fussy cut it out, I also did I ran this through the subtle embossing folder a couple of times because it just almost gives it a texture of a fabric. So there you go, stamp friends. That's what I've been working on. I did another succulent card too. Again, I'm really liking it. It was easy to work with. This one I don't have a video for yet, but I will. All right, friends, thanks for stopping by. And I will create again soon. Have a great day. Bye.